More than 70 people are killed as fire rips through a building in Johannesburg. At least another 50 were injured. Those who escaped described panic as people tried to flee in the middle of the night. More than 70 people have died, including children, after fire tore through a five-storey building in Johannesburg in South Africa. More than 50 people were injured, and there are fears that the number of fatalities will rise as rescue work continues at the site. The block had been declared unsafe for use, but city officials say it had been taken over by property gangs who rent out the rooms and overfill them. Our Southern Africa correspondent Pumza Filani reports from Johannesburg. And to warn you, her report contains distressing scenes from the start.
Piercing screams ring out in the dead of night as a fire rages through a building in the heart of Johannesburg. Home to hundreds, residents have described the horror of people clamoring to get to the nearest exit as smoke filled the building's narrow corridors. Many were not that lucky.
The actual fire escape was closed, so there was a lot of people, a lot of people smoke, people were suffocated, a lot of people died because of the smoke, because there was a lot of pressure at the gates. Some of the gates were closed.
As bodies are pulled out of the gutted building onto the street, grief sets in for some of the survivors. The reality of their loss sinking in. Many of those who've died are said to be burned beyond recognition. Hours later, and the flames are finally out. This has now become a recovery operation, emergency workers have said. Officials have told the BBC that it is unlikely that any more survivors will be found. They still don't know the cause of the fire.
Since it's a hijacked building or an abandoned building, there might be two options here. It might be illegal connection, or it might be other heating devices which they are using, because we are told that at the time when the fire started, they didn't have electricity.
Residents in the building were living in squalid and crowded conditions, described by authorities as an informal settlement with shack-like partitions. The building was condemned, declared unsafe by its owners, the city of Johannesburg, but had been taken over by property gangs who rent out old buildings to scores of people in a room. This one was home to working-class migrants from neighbouring countries, as well as South Africans from poorer provinces who came to Johannesburg in search for better economic prospects.
Buildings like this, stay away from them, remove yourself from them. No one is hitting to the core. And also, on the part of government itself, the justice system is also failing us. When we identify the hijackers, we want them to be prosecuted. Somewhere along the line, they are let loose in the justice system. It's out of our hands as a city. They come back and do this.
The investigation into the fire is at its early stages, but this story is only going to get worse for those affected, left without a home or any belongings, left waiting for news on friends and family as the number of fatalities increases.